Iran's defense minister thanks China for support on first foreign trip since the Israel conflict. Iran's defense minister Aziz Nasirzadeh joins the meeting of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization called the SCO defense ministers in Qingdao on 26 June 2025. Hong Kong CNN. Iran's defense minister has traveled to diplomatic and economic ally China on his first reported trip abroad since the 12-day clash with Israel that briefly dragged the U.S. into a new regional conflict. Aziz Nashijadi is one of 9 defense ministers that Chinese state media say attended the gathering of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization called the SCO, a China and Russia-led regional security grouping that has grown in prominence as Beijing and Moscow look to build alternative international blocs to those backed by the United States. The two-day gathering began Wednesday in the Chinese coastal city of Qingdao, a day after a ceasefire between Iran and Israel quelled what have been days of area assault between the two, punctuated by the U.S. strike on 3 Iranian nuclear facilities. The SCO gathering coincided with the meeting of NATO leaders at The Hague, where U.S. President Donald Trump said the U.S. would meet with Iran next week about the potential nuclear agreement. Beijing's gathering, part of the event for its rotating SCO chairmanship, spotlighted China's role as the key international player even as it remained largely on the sidelines of the Israel-Iran conflict and the importance Tehran places on its relationship with Beijing. Chinese Defense Minister Thu June did not directly address the conflict in remarks to gathering nations Wednesday, as reported by Chinese state media, but aimed to position China as the country with the alternative vision for global security. Unilateralism and protectionism are surging, while hegemonic, high-handed, and bullying acts severely undermine the international order, making these practices the biggest sources of chaos and harm. Dong said, employing language typically used by Beijing to criticize the U.S. The Chinese defense chief called it for SCO countries, which in addition to China and Russia include India, Iran, Pakistan, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, and Belarus to enhance coordination and defend international fairness and justice and uphold global strategic stability. Attending countries expressed a strong willingness to consolidate and develop the military collaboration, according to China's official news agency Xinhua. Iran's Nasir Jadi expressed gratitude to China for its understanding and support of Iran's legitimate stance, Xinhua also reported. The minister hoped that China will continue to uphold justice and play an even greater role in maintaining the current ceasefire and erasing regional tensions, he was quoted as saying. The defense minister included China's Thu June, second from right, together for the group put off during the SCO defense ministers meeting on Wednesday. The Chinese officials have condemned Israel's unprecedented June 13 attack on Iran, which took out top military leaders and sparked the recent conflict as well as the subsequent U.S. bombing. It also backed a ceasefire and criticized Washington's foray into a conflict as the heavy blow to the international nuclear non-proliferation regime. A key diplomatic and economic backer of Iran, Beijing has moved to further deepen collaboration in recent years, including holding joint naval drills. The Chinese officials have long voiced their opposition to U.S. sanctions on Iran and criticized the U.S. withdrawal from the 2015 Iran nuclear deal. China remains by far Iran's largest energy buyer, though it has not reported purchases of the Iranian oil on its official customs data since 2022. According to analysts, Chinese-made chemicals needed to produce missile fuel have been delivered to Iran in recent months, CNN reporting shows. In recent days, China has appeared unwilling to become further entangled in the conflict past each diplomatic effort, analysts say, instead using the situation as another opportunity to paint itself as the responsible global player and the U.S. as the force for instability. When asked at the regular Chinese Defense Ministry press briefing Thursday whether Beijing would consider providing material military support to Iran as the SCO member, ministry spokesperson Zhang Xiaogang told CNN that China is willing to work with all parties to play a constructive role in maintaining peace and stability in the Middle East. Founded in 2001 by China, Russia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, and Uzbekistan to combat terrorism and promote border security, the SCO has grown in recent years with Beijing and Moscow's shared ambition to push back against the U.S. alliance system they see as suppressing them. While not an alliance, the group says it aims to make a joint effort to maintain and ensure peace, security, and stability in the region. The SCO has long been seen as limited, however, by overlapping interests and frictions between members, including Pakistan and India, which earlier this year engaged in the violent conflict, as well as the China and India, which have long-standing border tensions. The meet in Qingdao did not adopt a joint statement due to a lack of consensus on referring to terrorism. Reuters reported India's foreign ministry spokesman as saying, Indian Defense Minister Rajnath Singh also attended the Qingdao meeting, the first visit from the Indian defense chief to China since the deadly 2020 border clash between the two countries. CNN's Stephen Jiang in Beijing and New Delhi Bureau contributed to this report. The story has been updated with additional information.